Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, March 19th, 2021, and today we're going to be talking about the American Rescue Plan and what that could mean for Democrats ahead of the 2022 midterm elections if everything goes to plan. Now, if you've been a pretty avid watcher of my channel, you might know that I made a video talking about how Chuck Schumer sort of released what the strategy will be for Democrats ahead of 2022. And it's a very good strategy to say the least. Pretty much they're going to be pushing this COVID-19 relief bill for the next year and a half, and they're going to be jumping on some of these benefits that are only momentary as of right now that could be extended if the Democratic Party is to retain the majority after 2022. And this COVID-19 relief bill is immensely popular amongst the American people. Very, very popular. We're talking about it being in the 70s in terms of overall approval, according to Pew Research. One of the most popular major pieces of legislation, yet garnered 0 Republican votes. FiveThirtyEight released an article today asking this exact question: can Biden's COVID-19 relief bill help Democrats avoid a midterm defeat? And it's honestly a very good question. Now, I don't think this article goes into things that I will be covering today, so I'm only going to be showing you this singular point of the article, but overall, the points are very similar. And I think that they are something that I have been arguing for the past month now, that this COVID-19 relief bill will be a very big factor ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. And on your screen right now, what you're looking is the approval rating amongst Republicans and Democrats of this COVID-19 relief bill amongst those who are lower income, middle income, and upper income. What you'll notice is that in total, 94% of Democrats say they approve of this Biden bill. Only 41% of Republicans say the same thing. But this average is brought down largely due to the numbers in the middle income and upper income range, where nearly 1 in 4 Republicans, just 1 in 4, not nearly, just 1 in 4 Republicans support this bill. We're talking about, 36, 37% in support of this bill of those middle income. But amongst of the lower income bracket for Republican voters or leaning Republican voters, 63% say they support this Biden bill, this $1.9 trillion bill. And that's the true disconnect between the GOP and a lot of their electorate, because what we're seeing here is that while the middle income Republicans and the upper income Republicans may not be too happy with it, and I think this is largely due to the fact that the Senate Republicans and the House Republicans have been arguing this is too much money, it's not going to the right people, those who make a certain amount aren't going to receive that. That could be included under middle income and upper income depending on where you live. Lower income, however, they are all going to get the COVID-19 stimulus check. They are all going to receive direct benefits as a result of this $1.9 trillion package. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of Republicans say, I might not like Biden, I may think the election was rigged, but this relief bill is something that I want and I support. And if 63% of lower income Republicans are saying I wholeheartedly support it, if, a total of 41% Republicans say the same exact thing, 0 Republican votes does not translate to 41% representation in the House or the Senate. That's not what we're seeing here. What we're seeing is that the Republican Party is defying the expectations of their own voters. Even though 59% may have no opinion, may do not want to answer, or just do not support this COVID-19 relief bill, honestly, 41% is enough to muster a few votes from the GOP, especially if it was going to pass already. And, I want to take you back ahead of the 2022 midterm elections 4 years prior to that. 2018, the Democratic Party was able to pick up 40 seats in the United States House of Representatives. They won the popular vote by 9 points in the 2018 House elections. Every single dark blue district on your screen are pickups for the Democrats. And this includes some very traditionally Republican seats. Oklahoma's 5th district, South Carolina's 1st district, Maine's 2nd district, 3 districts in Iowa, Utah's 4th congressional district, New Mexico's 2nd congressional district. What you're looking at here is the Democratic Party's ability to win over certain areas that they otherwise wouldn't have had Donald Trump not been the incumbent president and if things weren't going in the opposite direction of the GOP. And history speaks for itself. In almost every midterm election in the 21st century, with the exception of 2002, the incumbent party has lost seats. In 2006, the Democrats reclaimed control of the House and the Senate. In 2010, the Republicans reclaimed control of the House. In 2014, they reclaimed control of the Senate. And in 2018, the Democratic Party reclaimed control of the House of Representatives. Keep in mind, all of this reclaiming happened with the opposition party in the White House. So looking at what happened in 2018, you have to put it into perspective. How was Donald Trump's approval rating back on November 6, 2018? Well, lucky for us, we have the exact numbers that show us with an exact margin of negative 11 points nationwide. For reference, in November of 2020, Donald Trump was at a point where he was disapproved of by just around 8 points nationally. But back in 2018, which could argue, you could see why the victory was larger for the Democrats then compared to 2020. But looking at what happened then, it was negative 11%. The American people were not happy with Donald Trump, and that was clearly shown. Ultimately, the Democratic Party picked up 40 seats in the House of Representatives. The Republicans may have picked up 2 Senate seats, but then again, based off the 2016 presidential map, they should have won 7 more than they, lost. So looking at this unpopularity rating, it was a good indicator of how 2018 was going to go. And then I'm reminded of 2014. I would argue this was the best year for the Republican Party on record because they were able to pick up a number of governorships, including my home state of Maryland. Isn't it kind of weird we have a Republican governor? But that's just how the Times ultimately pushed the state to the right for a very small period of time. On top of that, Republicans picked up 9 seats in the Senate. That's unheard of. The Democrats picked up 3 in 2020, a net gain of 3. Republicans got a net gain of 9. Democrats didn't gain a single seat, but 9 pickups in 2014. And in the House, it was the largest Republican majority in the 21st century, a net change of plus 13 for the GOP. The Democrats had just 188 seats following the 2014 midterms, and this was due to Obama's approval rating being underwater. If you go to November 2014, what you'll notice is that Obama was not approved of by the American people. Around the time of the midterm elections, he was down 12 points nationally, according to Gallup, which in many ways actually skews a little bit to the left, but I think is still a very accurate indicator of the approval ratings of former presidents. And negative 12 is oddly similar to what we saw happen in 2018, where we saw negative 11 for Donald Trump. 2014 was a year where the Republicans already controlled the House and pretty much gerrymandered it into oblivion for against the Democrats, which not to say the Democratic Party would not have done that in that position, but it's just true. It's factual to state that. And looking at what happened in the Senate, though, the Democratic Party lost control of the Senate. They did not have control of the House. All they had was the White House, right? And then I'm reminded of 2010. Obama was still president. This was his first term, and the Democratic Party had just passed the Affordable Care Act. Well, that was widely unpopular amongst the American people, and they made the Democratic Party pay. The Republicans picked up 6 seats in the Senate, not enough to win it because, keep in mind, the Democrats had nearly 60 seats and actually did have 60 seats for a very brief period of time leading into 2010. But in the House, the Republicans picked up 63 seats. Look at all of that dark red. Each dark red district is a pickup for the GOP. Why did this happen? You have to take a look at approval yet again. If you go to November time period around 2010, it wasn't as bad as it was in 2014, but it certainly was nothing to flaunt. Barack Obama was down negative 5 points nationally around the time of the 2010 midterm elections, and that roughly translated to a 63 pickup for the GOP and a 6 pickup for the GOP in the House of Representatives. And looking at what happened, essentially, because of Obama's unpopularity and the Democratic Party's passing of bills that were unpopular amongst the American people, it brought them to a point where they were losing the House majority and potentially losing control of the Senate. Now, after 2020, I don't think I have to remind too many Democrats how close this election actually was. The Senate is the narrowest it's been since 2001. It's an exact tie, which means the Democrats don't even have an outright majority. They need Vice President Kamala Harris to break the tie. The House is the narrowest it's been since 2003. So early 2000s are the last time that these two congressional chambers were this close. 222 to 213. The reason why this is so close is because if you remember back in 2018, I can actually show you what happened. The House of Representatives elections brought us to a point where the Democratic Party was winning 235 seats to 191. A net change of 41, so actually more than 40. So I guess I should have clarified that. But now it's been brought down to 222. Republicans flipped 15 seats in the 2020 election despite losing the presidential election. And it brought down the House majority to a very close point. So 2022, there won't be as much of a buffer as there was in 2008 leading into 2010, or 2012 leading into 2014. But because of this COVID-19 relief bill, the election could be very different. As I have told you, this COVID-19 relief bill is very popular, 70% in terms of the approval amongst the American people. What we're looking at here is that 41% of Republicans support the bill. I get that's not the majority, and I get that Republican congressmen and senators don't like to work with the minority a lot, but also 41% does not equal 0 votes in the House and 0 votes in the Senate. Think about how that looks for some of these average GOP voters that they're being hit hard by COVID-19, right? You're in the middle of the country or you're in a city and you're working full time, but you're only making around $30,000 to $40,000 a year. So is your husband, so is your wife, so is, anyone in your family, right? You have kids, and the Republican Party is saying here that, they want to reduce the check size, or they just simply want to block this COVID-19 relief bill. Well, if the Democratic Party is going on the news and saying, we want to send you $1,400, and the Republicans are saying, nada, what are you going to think? You're going to negatively look at the GOP because they're arguing this is too much money. But these people need that money. That's the thing. Lower income individuals are clearly liking the bill. And if you're wondering why middle income Democrats might be supporting the bill more than lower income Democrats, the disapproval of the bill amongst these Democrats that are disapproving in the lower income bracket, not a lot, we're talking single digits. But the reason for that is for some of them, they think the COVID-19 relief bill doesn't do enough. So for the 63% Republicans, many of them like it because it's something compared to nothing that's offered by the GOP. $1.9 trillion versus $600 billion when the Democrats have the majority. These GOP voters are saying, I want that money. I want the stimulus check. I would like my child to be added in so I can get benefits. I would like to have some type of help from the American government, especially right now where there might be, orders that are keeping you at home or you're just unable to work because you're afraid of contracting the virus. It's a very real threat, and it's a very big thing and something that will be dominating ahead of 2022. Because COVID-19 will not be gone by 2022. We might reach herd immunity and we might reach a point where mask mandates might go away. However, you do have to realize that this is still a virus. Unless we start to see 70-80% of the country getting fully vaccinated, it's going to be difficult to defeat this virus. It's going to linger, and it's going to extend into 2022. And I think that the Democratic Party is going to capitalize on that. And even though that may be something that is viewed as unfortunate because it's a virus and it's killing, 500,000 Americans, the unfortunate reality about America is that everything is politicized. Masks have been politicized. The vaccine has been politicized. That's a product of our own polarization. As unfortunate as it is, you have to recognize its prevalence in the American society. So what we're looking at here is that still, even amongst upper income Republicans, 25% of them approve of it. That is not 0%. I can't wrap my head around how these GOP representatives are going to go back to their constituents and say, yeah, I didn't vote for you to get a check. I thought that this was a radical move from the Democratic Party. Spoiler alert, they don't care. If you're hurting, if you need the money, if you need money in order to get back into the workforce, in order to get up off your feet, you're going to applaud the people who did that. And while we've seen bipartisan support for the past two stimulus checks, the $1,200 and the $600, we're talking every single Democrat voting for that, right? Looking at what happened now, not a single Republican. The only thing that changed was the time and who was president. And I think that largely negatively reflects on the GOP, even amongst their own voters. And as we've seen, the approval rating is a very big part of midterm elections. When you look what happened in 2010, the Democratic Party was not approved of. Obama was not approved of. 2014, disapproved of by even more. 2018, Donald Trump was not approved of. But right now, Joe Biden is maintaining his popularity. In fact, it's inched up narrowly from where it was just a few days ago. And I think this is also something the Democratic Party should be happy about. Because as it starts to inch up, that increases the amount of days where he's in this honeymoon period, where he's in this point in time where the American people are viewing him in the same way they did a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, comparing the favorability versus the approval rating polls. But looking at what we could see now is that this COVID-19 relief bill will have long-lasting effects, and just these headlines we've seen will remain prevalent in the minds of many American voters, even these Republican ones that have been hit hard by the virus, that, may have voted for Trump, may have voted for Republicans because they said, we want to open it up, we want to get you back to work. The rhetoric certainly was appealing, I would say, to a lot of lower income individuals. That's partially why Donald Trump did better amongst them than he did in 2016. But when you look at the actions of Republicans and Donald Trump is taken out of the equation, you no longer have, number one, your most inspirational force on the GOP as the incumbent president. On top of that, these Republicans are going back to their constituents and saying, I didn't vote for it, but I'm going to applaud it anyway. And it seems very much hypocritical, and that's how the American people are going to receive it. And it's clear in these numbers that Republicans, many of them, want this relief bill, and they got it. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to look at Biden. They're going to look at the Democratic Party and say, as much as we fundamentally disagree with you, they may be thankful because they are getting relief. When they got those stimulus checks, when they got the money deposited into their account, I'm sure many of them were thankful because this didn't happen because of the GOP. Realistically speaking, the GOP did not get this done. That's not a partisan statement to say. It is 100% factual that not a single Republican, and that's what irks me, and I'm sure many Americans the most. Because looking at what happens here is that when I see headlines about certain Republicans trying to take credit for it, as someone who closely watched the vote, reported the vote to you guys, and saw 0 Republicans cross over, why would I want to see an article about, a representative trying to take credit for the passage of the bill or the parts of it that help their own state? I get it's good politically speaking to say, this is a good bill for the people, but you can't take credit for it, and you can't say, I was part of the discussion for this, because in all honesty, you weren't. And I think that's how many Americans are going to be viewing this as well. Because so far, we've seen numerous headlines about how Democrats are the only ones who passed COVID-19 relief. And I think that's something that's going to, remain prominent within the eyes of many American voters for the next year and a half. And when Chuck Schumer said that he was going to use this as something as a way to help the Democrats in the midterm elections, I have full confidence it will be a working strategy unless a much more important issue comes up leading into 2022. It is possible, but as of right now, COVID-19 seems to be the most pressing issue ahead of the 2022 midterms. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my Biden-Harris administration analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.